call the March 10th,
Yes,
March
sir.
10th, 2022 school board to order. Roll call, we have all board members here, and I'd like to welcome the parents, teachers, and staff, administration. The board meeting will start with pledge of allegiance and invocation.
Please rise. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Dear Heavenly Father, bless this meeting as we go forward, be with our students, keep us safe from the COVID, and maybe we make wise decisions for our students as we go forward, and be with them during the spring break, guide and protect them. In thy name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with, taking that number 6 out?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with removing item 6 for the set staff, look at that question.
I second.
The motion is second to do the agenda, removing item 6. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we'll call the public participation comments. Anybody signed up?
We do, we have 6. I'll go from the top and I will remind the group, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, we just do have a policy of 3 minutes per person. What I'll just try to do is raise my hand to give you a little bit of a flag, so I'm not gonna try to cut you off. But, just trying to keep going with policy. The first person is Mr. Jason Shaw.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Jason.
Again, my name is Jason Shaw. I'm the father of 2 children that attend the public schools here in Cleveland. I'm a property owner, a taxpayer, I work, shop, live in Cleveland like most of you do. I think that makes me vested in the interest of our schools, our teachers, our students, and our community. It's important to understand without a good, strong public school system, our town will fall. It just won't be here. It's not gonna attract new business, it's not gonna attract new, community members. The other part of that is the school needs to have the community's approval and participation, or again, it will fall. You can't have your community working against you as a school board, as a school administration. If you haven't noticed, I and a couple others have been organizing or trying to organize the community to stand up and voice together. We're tired of not being heard. We want you to hear us. We want you to work with us. We're here. Use us. Don't make us fight you. First change we want to talk about is the mask mandate. I'm not against masks. I just don't like being forced to wear them. I don't want to send my kids to school with them. With that, all of the COVID restrictions need to go. Nobody's social distancing anymore. When you go out about your daily lives, you go to restaurants, you go to sporting events, you go to community gatherings, you're not social distancing anymore. Why are we still doing it in school? It's not effective if you do it half the time. You get sick, you're gonna get sick while you're not social distancing, then you're just gonna bring it to school. It's a moot point. Same with the mask. No one's wearing masks. How many of you wake up every day and put on a mask to go to Walmart, Kroger, church, wherever it is you go day to day? The mask has outlived its usefulness. With that, I'm asking you, please, get rid of the mask, get rid of the COVID restrictions, return our children's lives back to some sort of normal. Let them move on. Let us get past this. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next I have a Miss April Lawrence.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is April Lawrence, and I'm the mother of Abby Kirk. She's in one of the self-contained rooms at Parks Elementary. If you're not familiar with that, that's for special ed students who are not able to mix in at all with the other students. Tonight, I would like to briefly share with you the gross misconduct of the administration at Parks and what my child has suffered because of this. Since August of 21, to my knowledge, Abby has had at least 4 teachers in and out of her room for certified teachers. I say to my knowledge because after the first one quit and I inquired on who would be teaching my daughter's special ed class, Anna Bennett, the administrator, replied with, "Personnel matters are not your business." I have the email to back that up. That was in October. I found out through another parent that a teacher had been hired, a Mr. Ellison, only to be told that he was actually a student teacher, he told me that himself, that was getting his Mississippi license because our state didn't recognize his Alabama license. He was allowed to teach my child's class by himself without a teacher in the room with him. Ms. Sellers was his supervisor, but she was teaching her own class. Also, all of this was communicated to me by a parent. In February, I contacted Mr. Ellison regarding a Valentine's Day party, only to be told by him that he had not returned to school because of his wife's health. Again, no communication from the school whatsoever. Nothing from Parks to let me or anyone else know that he was not coming back. Children with special needs have IEPs. You're supposed to be telling parents how you're meeting their IEP goals. That has not been done whatsoever at all. In this time, the only communication I've received from the school on a daily basis is a simple sheet with a smiley face that stated our daughter worked on iReady, math, or reading. There's been nothing else communicated to us at all. The most egregious thing that has happened to my child, who is 12 years old, 11 years old, and physically is 11, but thinks like a 7 or 8 year old, mostly 6 or 7 year old. After our daughter came home Monday with her clothes soaked through with menstruation blood, because she started her period at school for the first time. She's had it before, but this is her first time to start at school. She started around lunchtime, but didn't know who to tell because she doesn't know her teacher's name, because she's had a different teacher rotate in and out of her room. So she bled all over herself from lunch until the time she came home. So she didn't know who to ask for help, and I've had enough. At a meeting Tuesday morning with Anna Bennett, principal of Parks, asked her what she would do if this was her child, and she picked him up from daycare and he had poop in his pants all afternoon. And she said, well, I would contact his teacher. And I said, well, that's nice, because I couldn't do that. Because Anna Bennett has made it a point that I not know who my child's teacher is, my special needs child, who can't speak for herself. She's made it very clear that she does not care about special needs children. She even said, in a normal classroom, when the teacher is out, we don't call all the parents and tell them. A child in a normal classroom can tell their own parents that the teacher's out. My child can't speak for herself. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, her teacher has failed her. Not her teacher, because she hasn't really had one. Anna Bennett's failed her. Marquita Brinkley has failed her. Cleveland School District has failed her. I'm going to leave a copy of the complaint that I filed today with Mississippi Department of Education with Todd, because he's just standing closer. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Abigail Kirk.
Next up is Ms. Nietzsche Worsham.
Hello, my name is Nietzsche Worsham. I'm here to discuss the mask mandate. I have 2 kids in the Cleveland School District, Hayes Cooper. I have a 2nd grader and 4th grader. We've complied for 2 years with this. This year, my children have, from the time they get on the bus at 6:50 in the morning until they get out at carpool, they have to wear a mask. Do y'all wear your mask that long all day? They have missed recess. They have gotten written up on the bus if their mask is not worn properly. I just don't think that's fair for a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. I see some of you out in the community without your mask on in public places, in healthcare settings, in the grocery store, wherever. And it's just not fair for these children to have to wear a mask for 8 hours a day, but yet the people who are forcing them to do it don't have to. And I just think it's time for it to end. They're not wearing clean masks, even if the masks they're wearing are not clean. I don't know if y'all look at these children or check their mask every day, but nobody's wearing a clean mask. Some of the masks are completely see-through. I mean, there's just really, really no clean at all. I feel like the teachers are having to inflict this harsh punishment of missing recess and stuff like that on them because they're worried about their jobs. They're told if they get, seen with their children, with their students not having masks on, that they'll be reprimanded. And that's not fair to the teachers as well. They can walk to the lunch table, they can take their mask off at the lunch table while they're sitting down. Why can't they sit at their desk without their mask on? I don't really see the difference in that. Same way when the masks were around town, you could wear your mask to the table to eat at a restaurant and then take it off. It just doesn't make sense to me. I also read in the paper, it says that we're following CDC guidelines. Well, the CDC updated their website on March the 4th. Bolivar County's in a low level. There's nothing nothing even stating that you should wear a mask. So I'm here to ask, please take off the mandate. Please let it be optional. If you think the masks work, then those kids should be protected from my kids that aren't wearing a mask. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
My name is Tracy Allen. I have two students, a high schooler and an elementary school, a sixth grader. I have actually two topics to discuss quickly. If you remember, maybe 3 years ago, I came and spoke before y'all about a different instance. While I was there, we also talked about how when schools leave parents in the dark and they don't make decisions in a timely manner, then parents get scared and they go other places. They move, they put their kids in private school, they do whatever they need to do. I've contacted Mr. Hill at the middle school several times to find out when the kids were going to take the STAR test. The year I came and spoke to you in September, my daughter's class took it in December. And we knew by January that she was in the STAR program and that was what we were going to do. I've contacted him since probably the 1st of January and then again more recently the end of February. And he had no plans and kept putting it off. We weren't able to go into the school to tour it. We weren't able to take our kids in there. So I just think for future reference, I think that needs to be done by December or January. So parents have plenty of time to figure out what it's going to look like. And he's told me also in his email that he doesn't know if there's going to be a STAR program, but he doesn't even know what there is going to be. So just some more detail. Parents need to know what's going on with their kids. And also as far as the mask mandate goes, I'm also in supporting of dropping the mandate. The CDC has said they don't work. Obviously, if they did, we wouldn't be in this. We've been done a year ago where people were more diligent about wearing masks. But if you act like you care about the kids, but what about these babies that have speech problems? They need to see people moving their lips so they can learn how to enunciate words. Young learners, 4Ks, 5Ks, they need to see people enunciating. They need to hear clearly because with masks on, everybody talks like this and you can't hear anybody anyway. And also, what about these kids that live in crummy homes and the only person that smiles at them all day is their teacher? That's not good for kids either. So if we're in a low zone and they've been proven by the science, the same science that said that you should wear them is now saying, okay, we've done more research and now it doesn't work. So if we listen to the science in the beginning, we need to listen to the science now. Thank you.
Dr. Shepherd?
Good evening.
Evening.
I didn't come to talk about the mask mandate, but I do wear my mask everywhere, at my church, in my community, and throughout places that I go. I ensure that I have my mask because it provides protection, not only for me, but it provides protection for the others also. But I came today to talk about the engagement of parents and community members in the decisions of the school district. More particularly, I wanted to talk about the enrollment and declining enrollment in the Cleveland School District. Dr. Belcher made a presentation to the board a couple of months ago regarding the declining enrollment. And many of you, if you watch any kind of news, you've seen that the declining enrollment has been addressed in several other school districts throughout the Mississippi Delta. And that has been addressed by not wasting money on schools that have low population. In Cleveland, we are currently running 6 elementary schools. Many of those schools' enrollment has declined. D.M. Smith, for example, they lost 40 kids last year in 1 year alone. So the kids and the parents are moving away from the community, and it is advantageous for the school board to engage the community in making decisions as to how not to waste the district's money. We do not need 6 elementary schools. One of our elementary schools currently has 188 kids. However, at this same elementary school, it has 38 staff members, from teachers to cafeteria workers to janitors to teacher assistants. That's a big chunk of money that could be used in putting it into a new high school. Not indicating that that school is the one that should close, but we should actually look at closing 2 of our elementary schools. Pyramid is not one of them because it is about the most diverse, most progressive school that the Cleveland School District has. So I would like for you to give great consideration to not continuing to waste money. Put the money where the money is needed, and at this time, money is needed to provide our kids a state-of-the-art high school on neutral ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. Last one. This must be, this must be a doctor. Dr. Smith, is this you?
It's very hurtful when you say things like that.
I'm sorry, sir. Wasn't for sure. Thank you. Apologies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Brent Smith. I'm a family physician in the area. I've lived and practiced here for going on 8 or 9 years now. Fair disclosure, I don't have a kid in the school district. I'm an alumni of the Cleveland High School, or West Cleveland High School. I've been a supporter of Cleveland School District athletics from my position as a sports medicine physician, but I have spoken to you several times about COVID-related issues, and I felt, one, a need to come and provide a bit of a balanced perspective. Number 2, I was directly asked by a parent to give you a physician's perspective on this. COVID has changed in a lot of ways in the last 3 to 6 months, and that has allowed us a little bit more independence and freedom of our action with this. I spoke to you before the school year started, and talked quite frankly about the need for masking and social distancing and the efforts we had at the time, because where we were then was the best effort, or the best thing we could do to prevent our school district from being a nexus for transmission of COVID in the community. Vaccines had not been accepted or had been available enough to allow their prevention of spread. We did not have effective enough therapies to slow down those that got sick. And the virus itself was still very, very, very deadly to a certain percentage of the population. If you think about COVID in 2020, it was never about stopping 99% of people from getting sick. It was about stopping 1% of people from getting sick all at the same time. So if you look forward 2 years now, we have seen widespread infection. I wish I could say widespread vaccination, but for a lot of the same arguments given here tonight against vaccines or against masks, that hasn't happened. But we've suffered through the infection rate, which has given us some protection in a herd immunity standpoint. You do have vaccination that's gotten above 50%. You have novel therapies now, including oral therapies, that will make this less of a risk for widespread spread. And I think if you look at the way the numbers have gone the last round with our last spike of COVID, that's demonstrated by what we're seeing in hospitalization rates. I gave you 2 charts. One is almost all black, and that is overall case numbers for the state in the last 4 spikes of COVID. The 2 most recent ones being Omicron and Delta. In that spike, we have seen almost a doubling of case numbers each time, because each time we have a spike, it breeds the next strain, which is often more contagious. But fortunately, in this last spike, it bred a strain of COVID that was less deadly. The second page you look at is hospitalizations, including ICU hospitalizations. Our goal in the medical community being, we understand we cannot, using the means we have, completely stop the spread of COVID. We're trying to keep the healthcare system from being overwhelmed at one time. So if you look at that number, you'll see that the last two spikes has been an even hospitalization number, despite almost tripling the number of cases. What does that tell us? We're dealing with a less deadly virus for a combination of means: infection in the community, vaccination, better barriers. So when I come to you to say that, it's a balanced perspective to say that at this point, we reasonably can come out of masks, we can come away from some of our social distancing and make those optional, because as a community, we're safer. There is some concern, and I've heard it expressed, that as we go into spring break, there might be another spike in cases. What we understand now is it's not holidays that drive spikes, it's timing. It's enough time in between the last spike in cases and the next spike to have that newer strain get around enough to spread. Considering our last spike just ended about 3 weeks ago, it has not nearly been enough time for us to see a new strain of cases. A bigger point is this: I understand the feelings of the community and everything they do, and their passion on this for their children. As part of the healthcare community, we pick up the pieces when this happens. I'm comfortable saying I'm not as much worried about masking and social distancing as we have been, because we're past that point in our time. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is it for public comment.
All right, we'll move on to cabinet update.
All right, how y'all doing today?
Good.
All right, appreciate y'all today. We'll start as we normally do with our vision, mission, values, and our fundamentals of the WUSAC, and our 4 goals, which is student achievement, positive culture, community engagement, and employee retention. I would like to start with some updates for you. We received an HQIM grant. The HQIM grant is high quality instructional material. The curriculum department completed this grant, and we were awarded $1.2 million. That is a big deal. The focus of it is for math and English. There's a few restrictions that come along with it. They had to go through a whole application. They had to do this. Took some time to do it. So I'm very proud of them to do that. We're going to get more information. There was a meeting today about it from NDE. So we'll get more information about that to say all the stipulations and all the things that we can spend it on. There are certain programs that we can and cannot spend it on as well. So it's not a free-for-all. You just spend $1.2 million. Live online tutoring, we got that today, like right before we came in earlier today. Curriculum department again put us in for this 24 hours, 7 days a week online tutoring for English and math, and it's free. So that was also given to us by MDE. Had to complete it. It's over 120 school districts, and we were one of the 120 that received it. So they're going to give us more information in the next couple of weeks, so we can push that out to parents, and that'll give free online tutoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for English and math.
That's a live person.
I don't know that yet. They sent the email out to us today. We'll know more in the next couple of weeks, though. ESSA meeting. We had an ESSA fund meeting with the architect and all that. I don't know if everybody knows, but prices are going up. And every time we meet, something else has increased. And we're having to move things around. But the meetings are very productive. You learn a lot listening to the architects and going through the processes. So we've had to move some stuff from ESSA 2 to ESSA 3 and move it all around to get the things that we're asking for. But we'll give you more updates when it all gets clear. And the construction for most of the things that we're talking about should begin around June, July. That's the time frame that they've given us. Board retreat. We are trying to schedule a board retreat. I've talked to Mr. Boggs about it, and I'm trying to get a different location. And for people that don't know, the board goes on a retreat And we invite MSBA to the place, and they give us different classes about the role of the board, different responsibilities, things of that nature. Normally lasts for a day or two, and then we come back and it's just a training session. And also the board members attended the MSBA training in Jackson at the Hilton. That was for 2 or 3 days that we went down there, just part of their obligation as a board to go some of these things. Our testing window opens up in 31 days. 31 days, testing window opens. That is not a testing window that we make up. That is a testing window that we have to abide by through the State Department. So in 31 days, you know, we always start with the 3rd grade gate. So that'll be the first one that we go to. Right now, I think there's something on the floor to change the 3rd grade gate from a level 3 to a level 2. Did they pass it? They did? It died? Okay. Hopefully they get it, come back alive. We really need it. So the testimony is getting really close. Spring break is next week. So it's a very deserved break. This has been a very tough year for everybody. So I hope everybody enjoys their break, especially the teachers and administrators. It's been a long haul this year. And that's my update. The next is the business department.
Oh, I just want to call attention to the 88.
Yes, sir.
It's still at our high school and middle school, high school especially, it's 84%.
84,
Our stated goal is
95.
95.
Yes,
That's
that's quite lower than what we are looking for.
we gotta get them in the classroom.
I agree.
Whatever we can do, are they following up with these kids?
They're calling the truancy officer. We're doing everything that we can to try to get them in, to the school. We're on a downward spiral, like Dr. Brett Smith said. Like right now, our cases are low, so we can't say it's a quarantine thing. Just sometimes the kids are just not coming.
Is it the same kids, or is we identify
For a majority of the
same
time,
kids?
yes, sir.
This point, Bill, I think it's good for 2 weeks, 95%.
Yep.
You know,
And you know, I know y'all been here long enough, and besides, I know you work at a school. Sometimes you just have it so some parents just don't bring them to school. They just,
you know, that's our, we can't teach them if they're not there. So we gotta get them in the classroom. We gotta figure out something. And, I'm to the point now of asking these administrators to bring a plan to you, to present to us of what they're doing as we come out of this COVID. We're not gonna use that as an excuse anymore
yeah.
to be in the classroom. So if you do that, for our next board meeting, it can be in our packet,
Attendance plan?
attendance plan for the middle school and the high school. That seems to be the sore spot.
Okay.
So. Your teacher ADA looks good. I mean.
Yeah, we struggled with that for a while.
All right, it's a lot better, So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening. I'm here to give you the finances for January 22 bank reconciliation. Cash on hand for District Manson had 14.6 million. Accounts payable, a little over 416,000. Food service had a little over 1.3 million. Payroll had over 813,000. Fund balance analysis, all funds through January was 20.7 million. Last year, we ended in January with 12.9 million, so you're up by 7.7 million. District through January was 12.9 million. Last year was about 7.7 million in January, so we were up 5.2 million. Statement of revenues. Through January, we received about 19.1 million in revenues. Last year through January, we received a little 17 million, so we increased 2.1 million. Statement of expenditures, we spent about 17.3 million. Last year, about this time, we spent about 19.8 million, so we're down 2.4 million.
And Mr. Evans, that is our report. You all have the other departments.
I have a question
Yes,
about,
ma'am.
the bank statement.
Okay?
How often do you do reconciliation?
They're done monthly.
we didn't receive a reconciliation statement for payroll. I
Right.
just wanted to have each of those.
Payroll is the one that we are still trying to get some reconciliation done because of some activity that took place. And that's one of the agenda items that we, you should have it on the agenda that's a little further down. Yes. And that's the only one. But the cash balance that you're presented with every month on payroll, that's the same, that number does not change.
And, one thing you'll see, the food service with the 1 point something million, you're gonna see that change, that's gonna go down because she has some big projects that are coming, especially for the cafeteria at the high school. So you'll see that number come down considerably. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right, no more questions. Can I get a motion to approve the cabinet update?
So moved.
Then motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I approve of consent agenda. Can I get a motion to that effect?
I'm going to recuse myself from item J due to, conflict of interest.
You just want to refuse from the whole consent agenda, rather than pull that one off and.
That'd be
Okay.
All right, now can I get a motion?
Well, I was gonna ask a quick question, all trips and things that the consent agenda for us to approve, that's been budgeted? That's been budgeted under what?
Some of them are budgeted on the title
Okay.
and student activity.
And a lot of fundraising.
Yes, and some fundraising as
Yeah,
well.
the fundraising, I'm not, but, well, being asked to spend money.
I was just amazed at approving a field trip for next fall.
They printed it out.
Well, what had happened in the past is we approve this list, they don't raise enough money, and they come to board, want money to fill out, and we've approved it.
Yeah,
So that's the reason the funding needs to be kind of.
Solid.
like- Because then you get to pick and choose who you're gonna fund and what you're gonna fund.
yes.
Give them
And,
enough time to raise the money.
make sure they got a good plan. And I make a motion, to approve consent agenda, as presented.
Get a second? Then motion second, to approve the consent agenda, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Please mark on the minutes that, Ms. Algie,
Excuse yourself. All right, set date and time for next regular board meeting for Monday, April 11th.
Is there any possible way we could move that to 12? Would that be a problem with anybody?
Be a
The
Tuesday.
11th is a Monday,
The Tuesday, the 12th.
12th would be a Tuesday. That is the second Tuesday, correct? You can't do that? No, we go 13th to 14th, too.
Yeah, that don't make me no
Doc, y'all got anything later in the week?
No. What's the date?
On the 11th, but we're talking about moving to the 14th. Don't
difference.
do
On Thursday.
On the Thursday?
Business department, we're good with that, bill paying 14th? Good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
We could, that would
yeah. Get a motion to that effect?
I make the motion on the next date, time, the next regular board meeting will be Thursday, April the 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
The motion is second for the 14th, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, number 5, claims document.
I'm good, Joe.
No.
Everybody done?
They made it simple.
Well, you
Y'all gonna make
Clean
life.
it up,
Clean
clean
it
up
up,
the
get
POs.
yourself a fine code.
Please say something, Zen, but it's
I'm
behind.
gonna get a motion to move on. And I got a second. The motion second to move on to claim docket. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, approval for business department to hire education finance service consulting firm to assist with bank reconciliation with payroll clearing.
All right, so this is the consultant that we're gonna have, they're getting ready to actually start on our closeout also for the, end of the year process. And you already actually approved one consultant, but this consultant right here is actually on behalf of our current software because the previous one was not familiar with that software or the new software that we have. So we're needing someone that's actually part of this software that has access to the records and that's familiar with getting ready to reconcile and help balance and close out this year's book. So the money that we actually already had budgeted with the previous one, we spent less than half of it. So this is just part of that same line item, just a different consultant.
We haven't got enough money to pay these, but
Yes, because we didn't spend it from the previous, we didn't use all of it from the previous one.
You kind of made my antenna go up when you said that we didn't reconcile payroll because of, what you call it, activity?
A lot of activity.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Is
not
it because of the software?
a change in software, right, because we went from one to the next. So what's happening is, we're trying to get all of the in and out just with this one reconciliation, because in August, this is when a lot of payroll took place, when you have everybody coming back and people leaving. So this is where we're trying to figure out all of the ins and outs with that one. Everything else balanced, all your other accounts are good. The only difference with your payroll account is a clearing. It's just what it is. Nothing's supposed to be in or out. It's a balanced account. We're needing to match it with the paperwork that we have with your actual bank recs. Your bank reconciliation numbers do not change. We're just trying to get the reports to match your actual cash balance for your bank.
Doing new software.
So,
Right.
so this company, this is somebody that's gonna do this monthly? Or is this someone that's closing out our books for the year?
One-time deal.
Yes, not monthly.
Oh, wait, you said yes, I don't know which one you said.
No,
yes
no,
to.
no, this is not something they're gonna be doing monthly. This is as needed for the closeout of the year. They may not even,
Which we have been doing for the last several years.
right,
Hire
right.
somebody to close, reconcile the bank statements for the
Right.
year end, determine what's left, what needs to go back.
we're just using a newer consultant because they're familiar with the program.
Right.
Software.
So based on where we are, because the report we got last month was August 2021, reconciliation sheet. So based on where we are now, about how many hours are you thinking we would need to approve?
Between now and closeout, you have to understand, our closeout usually does not end until October.
So about how many hours do you think this company will need to get us through?
With the last one, we used less than 100. So it should be, and this consultant is more virtual because they have access to our software. So they don't have to come here on site a lot. They're actually able to tap into our software and pull the reports that they're needing, which reduces the time that they have to spend where we have to pay for driving and hotel. So I am probably gonna say no more than 100 hours.
So less than 10,000. And you already got the money budgeted for it.
Yes.
We have that much.
Yes, because we didn't use it from the previous one.
All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The motion and second for the payroll clearing bank account consultant, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, approval of CPE to utilize Stellar Consulting Services.
This is something for CTE, something about, to get help with the grant writing and all that other stuff. It's a leadership, go ahead.
For like the innovation, because you know, one of the things you are saying, we would need to bridge the gap better with the community and what we're offering the kids at the career center. The they want to make sure they have a strong strategic plan in place moving forward and get as much funding as possible to support those programs for our students. So this is a company that works with career centers to develop those plans and give the grants written to have more for the students.
So, I don't see any money in here for us.
Yeah, we get a second page.
They're gonna do
Second page.
2,000, it's gonna be 2 days for $2,000.
So, see that, huh?
It's at the end, page 2.
So they're not actually gonna write the grant, but this is PD for our folks.
They're gonna help too. They're gonna help with the right.
So they're gonna do that in 2 days.
Now, how large it is.
Hmm?
Depends on how large the grant is. But it's not just grant writing either.
The main piece is gonna be their strategic planning and making sure they are meeting those standards for.
And the reason it's so important too is because next year, for one, that's our first year for Career Academy. For number two, we're waiting next week to see if we got the high school innovation. And that is gonna help too. That was an application that we filled out, and sent in December. So we trying to make sure all the ducks are in the row because there are certain things in that application that we have to do. We'll know next week on the 17th, which is next Thursday. We'll know if we got it or not. So, we're just trying to plan ahead as well.
So we just only, tonight, if we approve it, we'll only approve for 2 days?
2 days, and that was one of the things that Ms. Jackson was saying. She said, I don't wanna make a long-term commitment and not know exactly what the, funding is, what the services will be like, but you gotta give it a chance to see what it is. It will help.
All right,
Make a motion to approve.
a motion second, all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, approval for CTE to offer work-based learning as a credit-bearing course in the Cleveland district.
And that is a formality required by NDE that the board agrees to continue to offer work-based learning as part of their, course offering.
All right, can I get a motion? Been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval for district to send $5,170 for question of cost for Title I, Part A of State Treasury Fund from past monitoring visits.
That came from the question you asked me earlier in the week, Ms. Housing, about our last federal programs audit. We just had one a few weeks ago, and what happened was, we found that it was one computer that Mr. Wade has already talked to the teacher about. She's looking for it, but there is an old security system of some sort that was never tagged from like 2012, 2015, somewhere around there, that we replaced it as a district, but the old one was never tagged, but it was still on our list. So when MDE comes in for a federal programs audit, you don't know what they're gonna pick. They just say, we're gonna come for an audit, today we're gonna check for this, this, and this. And those this, and this was one of those things, was the big computer thing. We don't know where it is. We have no clue. And the items that we're having to pay the $5,100 for, date as far back as 2012, all the way up to 2016. And then the one computer for that teacher that's at the high school, which is $165, that was in late 2019. The teacher's already been aware. She's looking for it. She said that Mr. Wade has already given her a deadline to say and tell her if she can't find it, she has to pay for it. So the big item is that piece that we couldn't find with the security.
And that's what you said wasn't happening.
Yeah, Mr. Wade couldn't find it. Where's Mr. Wade? Oh.
It was the old security system, so when they got a new security system along with the cameras at the high school, that old one that was purchased in 2012 was replaced with one in 2016. I don't know where the one from 2012 was, because the only one that's at the high school right now is the one that was purchased in 2016. And the other one had three compartments to it, and that's not at the high school. I was at the high school all morning today, digging along with the assistant principal that's over the fixed assets over there, and that was in no hook, no room, nowhere over there.
We labor over fixed assets. It's the long 15 years I've been on this board. We ever gonna get it right?
We close, and I can tell you why. Right now, we're cleaning out Cypress. Mr. Boggs has been over to Cypress. Cypress was used as the dumping ground. It just has a whole bunch of stuff. So right now, our goal is to have Cypress cleaned out by June 30 of this year. Also that we come to find out that we have buses that have been sitting in our bus barn that we haven't used in umpteen years, but they still have cameras on the fixed asset list that don't even work. So we're having to go back and we're having to clean it out. Like I said, once we get a clean list, we're good to go, because MDE just comes in and they don't tell you what they're gonna ask you for. So we have to get all those old buses out of there too. We have to go through a process to get those out. And, when I first came, you remember all that stuff that was in the, warehouse. There was a whole bunch of stuff in there, stuff that's not even tagged. So a lot of the stuff we're trying to find and get done, right now we're really, the only two sites that we're really having an issue with, and it's not as much of an issue as it was 2 or 3 years ago, is the high school and the middle school. So, we almost have it cleaned up.
Did we have this stuff at the end of the last audit?
They pick different items.
I'm talking about our annual audit we go through every year.
It's on our master list, it should have been found at some point.
And that was the issue. These items were still on our inventory, but they were not in the building. The paperwork hadn't been sent over. Somebody didn't do the proper disposal. Those devices ended up in a pile, and when they did a disposal, those devices left with them. But they was never removed out of the system, so it was still on the inventory, and we're still being held accountable for it.
It wasn't taken off of MDG's inventory?
It wasn't taken off of the district's inventory.
When we do an inventory, don't we take our list, somebody in every building?
But if those items are not submitted for disposal, that asset number is gonna still be on the inventory, and so when MDE comes in, they're gonna call by that asset number.
But don't they have to say, yep, it was here, or no, it wasn't?
Who, MDE?
No,
No, it's
whoever's
not-
doing the inventory in our school district.
It's never showed up in the school.
Right, that's the thing, see,
They got transferred to the warehouse,
when they got the new
never got
system,
disposed of.
Didn't-
Why is the school,
I know.
if they transfer, why is it in the school been here?
And that's old stuff.
The paperwork and everything else.
yeah, this was the 2012, security system, when they got the new one in 2016.
So what we're having to do is, we have to make sure that our list is clean. So that 100% that we're doing this year, that is gonna make it a clean slate for us. So when MDE comes in, we give them our list, and they pick from our list. What's happening is our list is saying one thing, and then it's saying something else too. It's two different things, but we're trying to clean it.
And a lot of this goes back to when we.
Consolidate.
Combined, yes, sir.
And things got moved in 2 months from building to building. Principals never got what they said they were supposed to have. And then it gets sent over to the warehouse, and then
The security system did get transferred.
But I don't know what happened with the security system, you know, so that was, like I said, that was the one that purchased in 2012, and we bought that new one, or the district paid for a new one in 2016. So when I went over there today, the only thing that was over there was the ones that was purchased in 2016.
Alright, can I get a motion to approve?
You got to pay them
You got to pay them $5,200.
51,759.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The motion says to pay them $5,170.59. All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Approve the table and approve the face covering proposal to be optional for students. I'd like to have a question, Dr. Smith, before we make.
All right, ask them quick.
Brent,
Yes, sir.
you say this, spring break, with kids going everywhere and doing everything, it's not gonna raise the COVID rate when we go back to school?
No, sir. So if you challenge that theory, then look at Thanksgiving of last year, when our COVID spike actually hit after Christmas. But that was a significant enough gap between the July-August spike and the January, late December, January spike, that if a holiday was enough to cause it, you would have seen that at the beginning of December. We didn't see it until the end of December, which again is more of a reflection of the time it takes for that to get around the community and then take off.
So it's a length of time in
It's
between
a length
fires.
of time, and you're just too close to spring break for a new strain to be that endemic or that contagious to the area.
So,
Do you want to reconsider on your motion?
well, the motion that I was gonna put forward was April 1st making mask optional. That's next week spring break, 2 weeks after. You know, and what we have seen is every time we have a break, that first week we come back off a break, our numbers go up.
Somebody tests positive.
But Brett's saying right now, it has to
Keep this in mind, our testing window opens in 31 days. So that's part of the big picture here.
I don't mean to overstep my bounds and try to respond. But two things, the quarantine and close contact quarantine has changed considerably. So a lot of your spike before was actually a reflection of the attempt to contain spread and taking kids out for close contact and quarantine when their exposure was equivocal. So now that has actually been shortened to reflect what we now better understand in the community or the medical community, then that limits your risk there as well of taking out a huge block of people outside after spring break. But the bigger problem that has been pointed out, and while I will tell you from my standpoint, masking has its role in certain situations, your exposure is not when they come back. Your exposure is that week of spring break. And that's gonna be what it is. But what you can do is see what this is gonna be like when they come back, and you can go back into mask if appropriate and slow your spread then. We can see spikes coming. We see when cases uptick considerably days or weeks in a row. It's not a one-night thing. When we looked in December, everybody in the medical community the week of Christmas sat back down and said, oh crap, we're in trouble. The difference here is midway through that, we weren't seeing people dying. We weren't seeing the hospitalization rate, the ICU rate we saw before. So there was a lot of a collective reexamination of where it is. So when I tell you that from a medical standpoint, I feel like it's safe to come out of mass to go into spring break, you will have a few more cases when you come back. You'll have a few more cases of flu. You'll have a few more upper respiratory infections. You'll have some sunburns and probably some STIs. But that's the reality. That's the reality of your spring break. But
You know what it is.
But the bigger question you're asked, or the bigger question I'm trying to address, is masks going to protect you in that situation? And in this situation, I think you can honestly, safely step back from it, allow that burden to slip away from your community members, and still feel like you're doing the right thing, as long as you mind the current close contact and quarantine guidelines.
So would it be prudent, you got spring break next week, okay? And then go a week after spring break, at the end of that week, mask and optional.
Based on what I hear you saying, we just say when we come back from spring break, it's mask optional,
Right.
and we're covered.
Yes.
Legitimately, yes. Legitimately, yes.
They can come back from spring break.
All right, my motion is gonna be that when we return from spring break, which is what day?
Monday, the 21st.
21st of March.
21st of March, that masking be optional in Cleveland School District. And I would also like to see you, when you announce this to the staff and all, that there be no repercussions for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. That'd be the teacher's choice, or no stigma placed on it. And for wearing one or not wearing one. And, that'd be my motion.
And keep in mind too, Mr. Bosch, we'll have to still keep our quarantine, protocols.
Yes, the quarantine and the social distancing.
We'll still keep the quarantine protocols that we have in place, that's helped us a lot, and, we're working from there, we'll send a message out tomorrow.
Quarantine with COVID test positive, not just being around.
Correct.
That's COVID test positive. We're not gonna send them home if they've been around me or you or that. We don't do that.
Good. Good.
That's what I've said from the front.
Y'all figured the policy out. I don't know how you word it.
I'm
I'm for masking until after spring break. I'm from asking for the 2 weeks after spring break to see what it does. We don't know enough about this virus. I know y'all don't, y'all say you don't believe that the mask protect, but that's a personal thing. I believe it does.
Well, it's optional.
Now, I don't think it should be optional the first 2 weeks after spring break. But that's my opinion. Now, you put it to the floor, I'm gonna vote my way.
That's right, that's your choice.
That's right.
Well, motion on the floor
Tell me
now.
what the motion is, come on.
Bring back,
Motion on the floor is that they would come back with spring break.
which is,
Mask will be
March,
optional.
March 21st.
March 21st, mask will be optional. Can I get a second? And the teachers can't do all this.
Quarantine.
Or no, quarantine, yeah, we not, just because we've been around somebody that had it, we ain't gonna send them home. Have we been doing that all year?
Yes, we have our quarantine protocols. They come around.
From the CDC or what?
the CDC based off of masking in schools.
Yes,
They went from the 6 feet to 3 feet
yes,
at the beginning of the school year. So-
yes, and it went from 10 days to 5 days.
So with one student in there,
It depends, if they have a mask on, we have different things in the protocol that change with the CDC change. We evolve with the new rules that come out too.
You raise a good point. It is time for a rewrite of your protocols to more fully reflect where we are with State Department of Health and CDC. That's something that can be done in the next week quite easily, just condensing that information. Be glad to help with it. Again, that is just a process of having a clear policy in place, which you can do pretty quickly.
I thought at some point we approved them going ahead and doing it.
We do.
Keep it compliant with CDC.
Yes,
state guidelines.
and after this meeting,
So didn't
we can get
approve
together
it.
tomorrow and we can change out our protocol to what we want, what we're saying we're gonna do. So, whenever y'all pass it, we'll get on it tomorrow and we'll get it out, cause we'll be on break.
And basically it'll be updated to whatever the CDC.
Yes,
and state
it'll be
guidelines
updated.
are.
no, that's
So we
part
got
of the motion too.
You got a motion, I second.
You second it?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
You oppose.
All right, one opposed, 4 for, 1 against. All right, they can come back from spring break. Ask for options. All right, we move along. Approval of request for revised exhibit A. We took that.
Make a motion to table that.
Table that. All right, can I get a motion to table number 12?
Second.
Motion second, table number 12, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Personnel policy.
That's ridiculous.
That was changing some language,
Change some
wasn't it?
wording.
Yeah.
You
You see that, Mr.?
Make a motion to approve it.
Oh, because of 12. You gotta table that one because of 12. This one is connected to yours.
Well, both of them have to be tabled.
Yeah.
It's a follow-on.
For 12.
You right, you right.
12, I mean, it's good, but if y'all are gonna table 11, 12, you gotta table 13.
Yeah,
Make a motion.
that's true.
We table 13.
Second.
Then motion second, table 13 too, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now, approval of personnel.
I do have a question. With the, under the recommendation,
Yes, ma'am.
item number 17 is coded as a K.
K/O.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss, our person, our human resources person, she's out today. She's on standby? Okay. The question is,
It, under our approved salary scale, K is the, elementary principal.
yeah, she was adding that description to that area of K. She's adding that title to K.
So that they have to come back for
If it's not already in there, we'll be approved all the time for us.
That's a question.
Do we need to pull it or do we need to hold it?
I say we pull
That's
it.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's,
Until she gives you the
until she
updated.
gives you the updated version, if there's a question pending.
It's not a hard date till July.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So you can hold 17 and
You
then
pull
go,
17.
pull 17 and then go with the rest.
We can
That'd be
approve
fine.
with the exception of 17.
That's right.
And just, we just tell her to add it with the next one.
That's right.
And then I'll recuse myself from personnel.
She asking all these questions.
But I have to ask you from the
Yes,
approval.
you can vote.
All right.
All right, I make the motion to approve personnel as presented, with the exception of number 17 for further information.
Second.
Been motion to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, with the recuse of Ms. Allen.
That's right.
We don't have any student misconduct.
No, sir.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'd like to say something before we do adjourn. I've been on this board, how long you been on it, 14? I'm 13. First meeting, never had student misconduct or legal matters. But I've been on this board. George?
Yeah.
Hurry up, hit that bell.
Make a motion to do it second.
Motion to adjourn, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Brent Smith.
Thanks for-
Stop.